So I promised that we would start implementing the Empire next, and we are going to be doing that. The one thing I want to note is we'll see if we get this done in the time allotted. I have a meeting with Erin in 40 minutes, and we'll see how far we can get before I have to drop off to that meeting. Sorry. So if you watched the last episode, we had kind of a layout for what we're doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to build our first. So now that we have authentication, authorization all laid out, what we're going to be doing first is that we are going to be implementing the first of our core gameplay models. And the first of that is going to be the Empire. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my factories. And I'm going to make an empires.rb. And we're going to create a factory. Right? And that's going to be... Find the factory. Cool. Name is going to be Baker space.galaxy. This will be nice. There's a bunch of galaxies. Not too many. I don't think we're going to be able to use this for like general generation of the galaxy as a whole, but you know, we have something here. Oops, minerals, there's some starting values. Cool. And the next one is the one that is a little odd. And essentially what this is doing is saying like, hey, the Empire belongs to a user, right? Fantastic. Next up, we have our factory down. We are going to write our model test. Factories are plural, models and model tests are singular. Right. So I'm going to do require Rails helper RSpec dot describe Empire type model do. And I'm going to copy and paste some stuff because it's a lot of typing. I don't want to deal with it. Cool. So the first associate test, this should belong to user, and that these matches are through shoulda matches. It's a validation test, right? Credits should be greater than or equal to 0. Minerals greater than or equal to 0. Right, valid the numericality of it. So it's also not going to. It's going to see. It's not going to be whatchamacallit, negative, and also the presence of, right. And then we have there's a factory, valid factory, and we're going to add another one. And a describe block down here, and essentially. Sets resource values created without specifying them. Right. Cool. That looks good. Next up, we're going to create our migration. Rails G migration. Create empires. Right, because it's plural. Rails create empires. So it's name, string, credits, integer. Minerals, integer, energy, integer, food, integer, user references. We're doing user references because we're saying like, hey, this empire is going to belong to a user, and an empire is going to belong to a user, right? And we want to set that reference up. So let's take out the migration it has created for us. Where are you? Not under app, not under config, db, migrate. Cool. Let's set up the defaults we have here. Change create table, string name, cool. Credits, default 1000, minerals, default 500, default 500. Cool. And I want to note here, let's change this. T references user null false, foreign key true. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add some more to it. Index, unique. And this index unique true is going to ensure that we have a one-to-one relationship between users and empires, right? So make sure I save that. Next up, we're going to create our empire model. Spec app. Where are you? Models. Empire RB, right? Because it is going to be an empire. Singular. Models are singular, controls are plural. Tests, plural? I don't even remember anymore. It's been so long ago since we wrote that test. Class empire inherits, all the way around, from application record. Spell that right. Cool. And we're going to be this. Validates. We're just going to make the thing pass that we test wrote. Validates name. Presence. True, right? Because that was a part of our test earlier. Just give me a second. Just rearranging windows as things happen. Cool. And then we're going to do the validation of numericality and so forth. So it's going to be validates, credits, minerals, energy, food, add the page here. Numericality, only integer, true, greater than or equal to, no, not is, greater than or equal to, whoops, 0. Right. So we're saying that, hey, name is going to have a thing, doesn't have the empire name. Ooh, that's a good question. Does the uniqueness empire has to have a unique name? Let's not for now. We'll figure it out later. We'll change it later if we need to. And we're going to validate for these fields. We have numericality, meaning that it's, oh, wow, that came out of nowhere. That was only an integer and it's greater than or equal to 0, right? Cool, that's good. Let's go to our user model. We have to update our user model. Has secure password, validates. Here we go. What we're going to do here is there has one empire pendant destroy. This essentially says that a user has an empire, only one empire, and that if we delete the user, we're deleting the empire. Cool. That's good. The next step we're going to do is we're going to set up our star systems. So the first thing we're going to do there is set the factory for that. Actually, let me run the tests. Actually, no. Let us Rails DB migrate, and then we'll run the test. Uh-oh. Undefined method user for empire. So that means if undefined user empire here, that means in my empire model, I need to, and I forgot to do this, set the other end of that relationship belongs to user. I'm going to put a break in there because I want to separate out, the association and the kind of validation. Let's run test again. We had 3 failures. They all pass. We're good. Whew. That's why I run our tests. All right, so that's good. Next up, what we're going to do is that we're going to go to our spec folder and let's go to our factory. So we're going to create a star system factory. Right. So this is going to be, oops, star systems RB. Right, and this is going to be God, I'm hungry. I want to get some Zaxby's later. That would be good. Factory star system 2. Right. And then we're going to do name, Baker, space, star. I don't know if this is many stars than there are galaxies, but doesn't really matter. Oops. Okay. Next, after the name, we need to come up with a system type. I don't really care for the factory what the system type is, but I do know of what system type it's going to be. And so we're going to do this. %W, and it's going to be Streal, Ocean, Desert, Tundra, Gas Giant. Ooh. Gas Giant Asteroid Belt? Sample. Right, so essentially what it's saying, like, hey, for this insight, just grab one of these. Don't care. Grab it. Max population will be 1,000. Current population will be 500. Max buildings 10. Loyalty, and this will be 100. And I'm envisioning this is kind of like a percentage, you know. Right, and then again, association empire. A star system belongs to an empire, so we do empire there. Cool. So we're gonna need a star system spec. New file, star system spec.rb. Cool. And I'm gonna copy and paste the test for my thing here from the AI generated test because it's a lot of typing. I want to deal with it. I'll look at it over. Yeah, it requires a star system. We are describing a star system. It's gonna be a model. Belongs to an empire. Validate presence of. Yep. Inclusion. It's gonna make sure that the system is one of those. Max population. Cool. Have valid factory. Fantastic. So now that's done, we can go ahead and create a migration for the star system model. Rails G migration, create star systems, and name string, system type string, max population integer, current population integer, max buildings integer, loyalty integer, empire references. Right? So those are pretty much laying out the kinds of data types we need. Also the empire references, because the star system is going to belong to an empire, and an empire will have many star systems. So now we have that migration. Let us take a look at the migration just to make sure that we're doing it right. Yep, change star systems, name, string, system type, string. Just making sure I didn't spell anything wrong. Max population integer, current population. I should put a default here. Let's do 10. Just feels like the right number. And the question is, did I? Yeah, we didn't say that it's going to create it with a 10, so that's fine. That's fine. Where are we? That's great empires, star systems, default 10, max buildings, cool. Loyalty, we should set default value here too. Default 100, because presumably when you have a planet for the first time, you're creating a planet, it's gonna have loyalty fully loyal. Empire false, true, right? Note that we're not doing any kind of uniqueness on the references here because an empire could have many different things. Cool. All right. So let's make the actual star system now. doo-doo. Where are you? Models, new file, sarsystem.rb, right? Again, we're going to do a little bit of copy and pasting because it's a lot of typing for not much reward. Cool. So we created the star system. It inherits from application record. We set the association up. We're saying the system types, like these are the system types we have. And we are saying like name, like the presence of inclusion means like it's going to be one of the system types. Validates, max population, all those things that we said. That looks good. And we'll save it. We're going to Rails DB migrate. And RSpec to see if everything passes. Everything passes, we're good to go. Good news, good news. We're getting close. But what I'm going to do is that, in my mind, what's going to happen is that we are going to, upon user creation, going to generate an empire. So I'm going to create a service that is going to create this empire for us. So under my spec directory, I'm making a new folder service. Oh, no, why did you go down there? Over here, spec, new folder, services. Right. And then in the new services, I'm going to make empire builder service spec.rb. And let's build our test. Cool. First test is like, hey, we're going to do this right. Describe. Oop, no, what? Sorry. Describe, and we have a method. This is method, a method called create empire. Do this. Let. Let user create. This is essentially using the factory. And I want to copy and paste in some stuff here. So it's going to create an empire for the user. So when we run the empire builder service and create empire, it is going to change the empire count by 1. Right? It generates a name for the empire not provided, creates a starting search system. So you see that the counts there's 1. It's going to be a terrestrial that gets created and uses the provided name if given. Right? So we have an option. We can create an empire or we can let it do the name. So now we're going to implement the service, and so in our app, cool. In our app, we're going to make a services folder, and in the services folder, empire builder service.rb, right? And so this is going to be a standard kind of thing here. A standard class, right? Class empire builder service, right? Def initialize user. Nope, not that user, but this user. And it's going to be at user equals user. We're going to store that user because an empire belongs to a user. And the user has an empire. We're going to pass it in so it knows about it. The next step, we're just going to make our things do def create empire and name equals nil. Cool. So what we're going to do is first we're going to deal with the name of the empire. empire, excuse me, underscore name equals name, or generate empire name. Right, and so the idea is that if we give it a name, it'll take that as a name. If not, we'll make its own name. And we're going to use an active record based transaction. What that means is that this is for when we want to do a couple steps in active record, but we want it to run together, not at all. So we wrap it in this active record based transaction, meaning that if any of the steps in here fail, then it's not going to do the whole thing. It's going to roll back the whole thing. So that's going to look like empire equals empire dot create, and it's going to be open parens. User is going to be at user, and name is the empire name. All right. Cool. Then, after we've created the empire, we need to go ahead and create a star system. Create starting star system empire. And then we're going to return empire when we're done. Cool. So, that's our public method. We are going to create some private methods. Underneath, I like to indent my private methods below. Def generate empire name, and it's just going to be faker space.galaxy. And next one, we're going to create a starting star system. Def create starting star system, and we're going to pass it in empire as we do here. Right. And then here is just simply, and I'm going to copy and paste this because, oops, from my notes, because it's a little bit, I don't want to mess it up. Right. So for creating a star system, we're going to make it here, and it's going to have the name of a fake star that we get from faker. It's going to be terrestrial. It's going to have these basic kind of things, and it's going to belong to the empire that we pass through. Cool. Right. And this is service. This is service spec. We're not actually using it, so we need to use it. So we're going to go to my user's controller, because that's where we're going to do the stuff. So the part we're going to do it is in here, right? We have this session stuff where it registers the root path and whatnot. And what we're going to do is we're going to empire builder service dot new. We're going to pass it in the user, and we're going to create empire, like so. But we don't have to do anything else. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to Rails DB migrate, run that migration, and run the path test. Ooh. Yeah, so that looks like we forgot to update the empire with a star system. And this is going to be has many star systems pendant destroy It's not dependent indent, it's dependent. Cool. All of tests pass, everything's working. That's great. Looks like we made it under the clock. My meeting's in 12 minutes. This has been like a 25-minute video. Fantastic. The next step we're going to take most likely is that as soon as we're going to add, right now it's creating if we go to the controller, where are you, controller? We're just creating it with the user, right? We're not giving the user an opportunity to kind of like make anything. Excuse me. The next step here is that I'm going to change the workflow so that after we create a new user and Empire is created and star is created, it's going to take us to the dashboard where we will have all the information that we want about the Empire. Cool. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, follow, bell button, all those things. Appreciate you. Have a great day. And we'll get into more of this in a bit.